Thank you for joining us for the Tennessee Farmers Market Manager Training. Today is December 2nd, and my name is Rachel Painter. I am a value-added agriculture marketing specialist with the Center for Profitable Agriculture, which is a part of UT Extension. If you are not familiar with your local extension agent, I would really encourage you to find your local agent and connect with them for more information about extension programs. Again, today this is the Farmers Market Manager Training for 2022. And this will be recorded and posted on our Center for Profitable Agriculture YouTube channel. If you have any questions about managing a farmer's market, I encourage you to reach out to me at the Center for Profitable Agriculture or our friends at the Tennessee Department of Agriculture about any regulatory questions you might have. And now I will turn it over to Casey with the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets.
Thank you, Rachel. My name is Casey. I am president of the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets, and I also manage 3 markets just south of Nashville in Williamson County. And I've been doing that for about 10 years now. So super exciting. We've had a lot of trials and errors throughout those 10 years that we love to share. So if you are interested in contacting the board at the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets, you can send an email to board@tnfarmersmarkets.org. That goes out to all 9 board members, so you can get a variety of answers from market managers across the state. It's a lot of fun to see everyone's different perspective. So if you have an issue or a question that you'd like to get some feedback on, you can send us an email there. The topics we're going to cover today are farmers market operations, different management structures, different ways to find funding, market rules and requirements, vendor applications and expectations, a market information booth, booth management, social media and branding, common challenges, managing vendor relations, and building relationships within your community. Farmers market operations, there's not one size fits all for markets. You really need to do your research to see what best fits your vision, your brand identity, the time you have available, and what your community really wants and needs. Markets range in different management structures. So some markets are operated and owned by a town municipality or the government. Some operate as nonprofits or under the umbrella of another nonprofit. And some markets are even privately owned and for-profit businesses. Vendor rules and requirements range from being a producer only, meaning everyone that participates, makes, or grows the items that they're selling, versus allowing folks to buy produce and bring it to resell or buy other items to resell. You can have full-time versus flexible schedule. So whether you require your vendors to commit to the entire season, or you allow those once a month or every other weeks, or just pop-up vendors, and a flat fee versus a percentage of sale. And we'll get into all of these different things towards the end. So farmers market funding, your market structure will help you determine the most effective funding solutions. But the most recurring revenue for a farmer's market would be your vendor fees. In order to keep vendor fees at a minimum, you can supplement in a couple different ways. You can go out and find private sponsorships, so partnering with local businesses that want to not only support your market, but engage your audience. We really promote our sponsorships as a marketing tool for other small businesses that want to come in. We take a lot of data at our market and we share with them that there really is no other place in our community to get face time with 2,000 people in a 4-hour time period. The only other place might be a large church, and they don't allow private businesses to come in and engage with that group. So the farmers market is a really great way to get branding out. You can also specify that their mission of their business really supports the mission of the market. So you can pick and choose the businesses that you want to work with and who you want to allow or not allow. There are federal funding and state grants available. Debbie's going to talk a little bit about the farmers market grant a little later. And then there is the specialty crop block grant is good for helping you do some crop specific programming at your market. And then the Farmers Market Coalition has a huge resource library of grants all around the country. And when you join TAPM, you do get a complimentary membership to the Farmers Market Coalition to have access to all of those resources as well. Market rules and requirements are obviously can range whatever you think is important, but you do want to clearly state all of your vendor rules and requirements up front. Before you start your application process, you want to have that all lined out. So that way they know what to expect from your market. All market vendors must follow applicable TDA and health department laws. And then other requirements can be specific to your market. So you can require or not require liability insurance, business licenses. You can do farm or kitchen visits prior to a new vendor selling at your market, and then other documentation as needed. Vendor applications are a great way to collect a lot of data up front. We use vendor applications to collect things like the number of employees that a farm may have, how many acres that they work, and then we collect all of that information and put it in a really fun infographic for the end of our season. So we can share that our farmers market and the vendors that our community supports and engages with supports X number of acres farmed. Our specific community supports 400 employees throughout all of the vendors. So it's a fun way to show the impact of not even a dollar spent, but the people that are involved in your market. So vendor applications typically open sometime between November and March. The summer market season for Tennessee is typically May to October. So the earlier you open your application up, the better it allows for especially your produce vendors to be able to plan for however many markets they want to apply to if they have the amount of produce that they will need to supply each of those markets. You want to effectively communicate where the application will be posted and when it will be open, so vendors know where they can find it and when it will be. Using a management software system such as FarmSpread or Manage My Market. There's also another one called MarketWorks, and I believe there's a few others out there available. Is a really great and efficient way to collect all of those applications and all of that data. You can build out maps and schedule your vendors, so you don't have to keep those Excel sheets in that huge 3-ring binder any longer. You can do it all through the management software. There is a cost to some of the management softwares, and each different company has a different fee structure. So make sure that you do, look at all of those different options and determine which one works best for you. I do recommend trying to pass that fee along to your vendors by way of an application fee. So you can determine what the cost for you to use that software is, and then gauge about how many applications you'll get to determine what the cost of your application fee should be. Vendor expectations, you want to make sure that you set clear expectations and that the vendors can find those expectations somewhere, either if it's within your rules and regulations, or maybe another link or another document for the size of the space that they have to set up, and any other requirements that you have as far as requiring tablecloths or requiring some kind of signage, whether it's a banner or a tabletop sign that has their farm name and their location, which I think are two of the most important things that customers want to know about, and those need to be clearly displayed. Some vendors may need coaching or advice if they're new to selling at farmers markets, or if they're just new to your market. So like we started off with, every market is very different in their structure, in the way that they carry out their business, and in their expectations. And so making sure that you work with each of your new vendors to let them know and giving them a little bit of a grace period to figure things out is important. Farmers markets act as a launch pad for a lot of businesses to start out small and test a lot of different recipes, and then launch into wholesale if they want to, or catering, or whatever it may be. So it's a little bit of work on the front end, but I think it's such an important part of a market manager's job to provide support to those new vendors that are just trying out with new small businesses. The market information booth is a key element to having a successful market, I think. It provides a central location for vendors and shoppers to ask questions. It's not very hard to do, and you will be able to interact with customers, I feel like, on a more regular basis if they know where they can find you. And typically they can assume that the people that are under the information booth are knowledgeable about the markets. They can ask questions. Some supplies, branded tent looks really great, but you don't have to have that. Just a standard tent works. This is a great place to display your sponsorships and all the people that sponsor and support the farmers market. I think customers, when they see those brands and those logos, they do recognize that those companies really care about the local community and will engage with them outside of the market when they see those brands around town supporting those events. Tent weights are a must-have. It's really important that you make sure that your vendors have adequate tent weights as well. Tables and clean tablecloths. Business cards are a really great way to, especially if you don't have a lot of time to interact with potential new vendors, by creating a business card that has your email address and potentially a phone number. It's a great way to say, hey, I'd really love to connect with you outside of the market. It's just a busy day. Give them a business card, ask them to contact you so that way you can set up a time outside of the market to really gauge what their product is and how it fits within the market. And you can start that conversation outside of what can be a chaotic market sometimes. The market information booth is a great place to sell market merch. We consider market merchandise as a marketing tool for our farmers market. So we sell, because we don't buy a lot of it in large quantities, the cost isn't super cheap. And so we typically sell our merchandise at or just a little bit above our cost, because we want to just spread our brand and our logo around everywhere. We really love seeing people out and about at restaurants or different shops around town wearing our logo t-shirt or hoodie, or carrying our coffee mug into the local coffee shop. So it's a lot of fun to see out. A cash box and change, not just because you are selling the merchandise, I also carry a lot of extra small bills because I give change to vendors all the time. It's important that we have a way to help them continue business. We don't want any customer to not be able to purchase something because they can't find change, or a vendor to have to stop selling because they don't have adequate change. So we want to keep the market sales going throughout the day. And then your point of sale system. So that's, some way to take credit cards, whether it's Square, Clover, PayPal has a really great phone app that you can use. So there's lots of different mobile options to be able to take credit cards these days. Booth management. So this is for your vendors. Every market has a different setup, aesthetic, style, landscape, timeframes that you can be there, parking, whether that's for vendors or customers, different amenities, bathrooms, hand washing stations, etc. You want to determine what guidelines best fit your specific market and effectively communicate to your vendors. So it's important that vendors are clear on when they can arrive, what or where they should set up, and how they should load out. Having those guidelines very specific and communicated well to your vendors really cuts down on a lot of conflict. I know that seems to be at our markets, we see that the most often is that loading in and loading out are the two times where we have the most vendor conflict. Someone else is in someone else's way, someone else is setting up in someone else's spot. And so to try to negate that, you want to communicate those expectations. You want to stick to the guidelines. Remember that all the vendors and products are different. You want to be flexible and leave some room for creativity. You don't want every booth to look the same, and you really want your farm and your vendors' personalities to come out in the way that they set up and decorate. Social media and branding, I think it's the second most important job of a farmer's market manager, is to promote the market and help promote the vendors that come to your market. You want to have a clear vision for your market's brand identity. Who are you? What do you stand for? And how do you promote that? Use analytics to identify your customer in the way that they use social media. You do not have to have a degree to be able to find and look at those analytics. I think one of the most important, or two most important analytics you want to look at are the time that your followers are most frequently on social media, and then who is your customer, who is your core audience that's looking at your social media. Typically, it's for, I think, a lot of shoppers, it's women. And so you want to gear your advertisements to them. You want to post about your market and your vendors frequently and consistently. Continue to post even when the market is not in session. There's different ideas like posting how your customers can reach out to some vendors that may have products off season available. How can they keep in touch? Different other community events going around town is a really great way to stay involved. If you take off for 6 months and you don't post anything during the winter when the market is not active, when you come back in the spring, your reach is not going to be as good because you just have not been active. So you want to stay active, even if it's just once a week. Continue to post so that way your page continues to get noticed. You can use high quality photos and video. It's super easy this day and age. Most all of us have smartphones, and the photo quality on smartphones is getting better and better and better. So you don't necessarily have to hire a professional photographer to come out and do photos or video. although it is a lot of fun to get some of those professional shots to use throughout the year. If you can partner with a local drone, I think our local high school has a drone program. And so we've had the high school students come out and take some drone footage of our farmers market. And that was a really fun way just to promote a different view of the town and our market within it. You want to tag vendors, sponsors, and other community organizations in that event. It's really important. The more you tag, the more reach your post is going to get. You're not only going to impact your followers, but you're going to pull in those vendors' followers, that sponsors' followers, and those other organizations' followers, just to get more notice out there. You can engage your followers by asking questions and using features like the Instagram story polls. Everyone likes to answer. Everyone has an opinion. And so, especially if it's a really fun question, you'll get more comments, which then helps increase your engagement and your audience and gets your posts more visible to more people. You can partner with local bloggers, other local websites or influencers, and do some giveaways at the market by, again, just tagging different organizations or different pages. You get more viewage that way. So before we get into common challenges, I'm going to mention a little bit about SNAP at the farmers market. There's two different ways you can manage SNAP at a farmers market. You have a centralized system, which means that the farmers market entity is the SNAP taker. That means that the EBT shopper comes to the info booth or to a designated location. The market staff or volunteer will take their EBT card, run it, and then give that customer tokens to use with the vendors that sell qualified food for SNAP usage. A decentralized system means that the farmers market promotes that SNAP is available at the market. However, the individual vendors are required to be SNAP certified. So each individual vendor will have their own SNAP machine, will be able to process those EBT cards for the purchases that are made with them, and the market doesn't have to do any kind of reimbursing. For smaller markets, it's much easier for the market itself to become SNAP certified instead of requiring each individual vendor to go through the process. The process can be kind of lengthy. It does take a little bit of time to get accepted, and the equipment can have some cost to it. There is a website, it's marketlink.org, that helps farmers market managers go through the application process, and occasionally they do have grants available that helps pay for the first year of a SNAP approved processing system. Things like programs like Double Snap or other prescription produce programs, those are all within the state of Tennessee, currently all privately funded through each market itself. There are some regional programs. I think in East Nashville, Nourish Knoxville does a really great job of expanding their prescription program and Kids Pop Club to several markets within East Tennessee. There is a Double Snap coalition in Tennessee that is having quarterly meetings. We're working on the framework to try to get the state to financially back a Double Snap program. That is in the works, but is not currently available. WIC is a completely different program. So WIC, you need to get each produce vendor that you have has to get individually certified through the Department of Human Services, and they will take those farmers market WIC vouchers that come out in June and July. And so I think it's just another way for farmers market managers to be educated on how and what that process is, so they can help their vendors go through that process. So that way we really can have anyone shop at the farmers market. Local produce can be accessible to anyone, no matter their means. So a couple of different common challenges we're going to talk about. Communicating information to vendors and shoppers, vendor relations and conflicts, managing expectations, finding staff or volunteers, and then weather dependency. A couple of these will have some slides to follow. One of the most important thing is clearly communicating information to vendors and shoppers. I mean, everyone now gets tons and tons of emails every day. And so we want to make sure that the information we're sharing is clear and concise, and we're doing that efficiently, and sharing it in multiple different locations. Vendor relations and conflicts. I think there's no real clear answer about how to deal with conflicts at the market. I think if you can do some reading on de-escalating conflicts, that's a huge help. But I think really outlining your rules and regulations and having clear expectations can really help in negating conflicts. As market managers, we do really want to engage in having good vendor relationships. I think vendor collaboration is really, really important, and anything that a market manager can do to partner two vendors to collaborate on a different product, or you have a vendor that makes granola and you have a honey vendor that brings honey, introducing them and saying, hey, I think it would be really great to have a local honey granola, utilizing another vendor's product, and that only boosts all the vendors at the market, boosts the market when they start to work together. Managing expectations. Collecting data is a really great way to manage vendor expectations. We like to share graphs. We've collected sales data over the last 9-10 years that we've been managing markets. And so that's a lot of data that we can go back and look at and say, hey, every August when school goes back into session, customer foot traffic and sales are going to start to decline. It's just a natural ebb and flow of market season. No one is doing anything wrong. No one is upset. And so you can really help manage those expectations by having that information. It helps vendors gauge, okay, starting in August, I need to start bringing less of a certain product. It can help your produce vendors kind of expect what to grow in that season or how much to grow in that season. So that way there's not a lot of food waste or cost waste. Finding staff or volunteers is a challenge for anyone these days. We like to start with those customers that come often, the people that you see every week that are super committed to your market, are a great place to start to try to find additional help or volunteers. You already know that they love the market. They're knowledgeable about the market because they're there every week. And that's a great conversation to start off with. Weather dependency, you get to choose, just like we started off with. Every market is different. So it is up to the market manager's discretion. I do recommend trying to be open, rain or shine. Consistency is key in making sure that your customer, especially your core customer base, continues to shop with you every single week. If you start to close because it might rain that day and it ends up being a nice day, you lose a little bit of that relationship with your core customer, and they stop depending on you for those items every week, and they have to start finding them at another dependable place, and we don't want that. So be consistent as much as possible. Also be safe. Managing vendor relations. Dolly Parton says it best. If your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. So as market managers and leaders, we wear many hats. We have to deal with a lot of things. We are typically, the whole business in one person. We do the accounting, we do the managing, we do the scheduling, we do the social media, we do it all. And while farmers markets are meant to be a place of positivity and community, we have to remember that conflict is a natural part of working with large groups of people. So by clearly setting the tone of the market, you'll usually have less conflict. You want to employ transparency in your communications. You want to be clear and concise. Again, that goes back to setting those expectations, being clear and concise in those. Actively listening to feedback, whether that's positive or negative. It is hard to hear negative feedback, but instead of engaging in an argument, you can just let that person know that they're being heard, and that you'll take it into consideration, that you appreciate that they offered that feedback. And remember that everyone at the market has a common goal. We're all there to support our community. We're there to feed the people. And we're there to help promote small businesses. And so under one goal, I think everyone has a clear vision of what that should look like. You can establish a vendor code of conduct. Again, that just goes back to expectations, and a grievance policy. So one way that we use to kind of cut back on vendors complaining about other vendors is our grievance policy. A vendor has to give us $100 in order to submit a grievance against another vendor. The staff then looks into whatever that complaint might be about. And then once we determine if that complaint is true, then we give that money back to the vendor that complained about it. If it is a false complaint, then we keep it. And by having the vendors put a little bit more skin in the game, other than just being angry and being able to complain about another vendor, we've actually never had that happen. So we've never had a formal complaint again from a vendor about another vendor because of that grievance policy. So it definitely cuts back when they have to put a little bit more skin in the game than just being upset. And then know when to escalate your conflicts to your board, or if you have market owners. As managers of any business, it's our job to really take care of the small stuff, handle it quickly, and move it out of the way so we can continue down the path of what we're there to do, and that's to support our small businesses and farmers and food makers in selling to our community. And so recognizing when you need a little bit of help in dealing with an issue is really key. So building relationships is a really big, important part of being a farmers market manager. Farmers markets are really a key hold within a small community. And so it's an important job of the market manager to really engage in the community and know what all is out there. You want to engage with your local businesses in the neighborhood, whether that be through sponsorship opportunities, partnerships. Farmers Market Week is a really great way to engage in your local restaurants by pairing your local restaurants with your food vendors, so that way they can use local produce during Farmers Market Week, as well as those sponsorship opportunities so they can engage with the farmers market shoppers as well. Reach out to local media like radio stations, newspapers, bloggers, influencers, and etc. to promote the market. There's lots of different ways to do that. Just by sending out an invitation and sharing that you'd like to walk them and give them a personal tour of the market and show them and introduce them to the small businesses that come out. Incorporate programs like SNAP and food gleaning. So the food gleaning Society of St. Andrews, we'll talk about that a little bit later today as well. Plan events at the market like kids activities, physical fitness, and specialty crop festivals. On the TAFM website, we do have 8 different specialty crop event toolkits. So it goes through everything from how and when to promote your event to different ideas for activities featuring that certain crop of the year. We have everything from honey, tomatoes, corn, cut flowers, strawberries, pumpkin, winter squash, blueberries, and a few others. So those are available on TennesseeFarmersMarkets.org. You do not have to be a member of TAFM to access those specialty crop event toolkits. However, we would love for you to join us. Another part of TAFM is staying connected with your other local market managers or organizations, farmers and vendors. One big part of what TAFM does is a lot of networking. We try to engage each region's market managers to grow together and communicate and work together to really support agriculture in each region.
I am subbing in today for Rachel Sullivan. I'm Debbie Ball, business consultant, Tennessee Department of Agriculture. Before I talk about the Farmers Market Grant Program, though, I want to commend Casey on the work that she did with TAFM on their specialty crop promotion packages. They use the specialty crop block grant to help pay for those, and it just is a super good use of those funds that all of you guys can take advantage of, and I encourage you to do that. And then I also want to encourage everybody, I know this wasn't on the program, Rachel, but check your Pick Tennessee products listing, make sure that it's current, pay attention to emails that you get from me asking you about promotions, if you want to share pictures and talk about special events that you're having. If you don't follow us on social media, I encourage you to do that. I think we had 3 posts go up in the last couple of days about winter markets and winter special events that are happening. And you, as market managers, have to provide that information to me. Now, what I was supposed to talk about, the Farmers Market Grant Program, Rachel Sullivan coordinates this. This is, gosh, y'all, this is a super easy program to participate in. You're eligible, markets are eligible up to $1,500 of grant funds. The purpose is to help with promotion, marketing, improvement of the market in the communities. Anybody who has participated previously should have received from Rachel the payment form, the form to apply with this week by email. So when I get through talking, I'll put her email in the chat and a link to where you can download the information about this grant, because it is posted on our website as well. But if you participated last year, you should have received a form from her already filled out with your information. So that's the form you should use to apply. If you have not participated previously, you can also email her and she will send you one of those authorization and payment forms. These funds can be used for advertising activities, social media promotions, collateral material development. These funds can be used for registration fees to attend the Pick 10 conference. These funds can be used to join TAFM. So you can use some of that $1,500 to be a member of TAFM and take advantage of their additional opportunities that they offer. To be eligible, you have to be listed on Pick Tennessee Products. You've got to make sure your listing's current. I can't stress that enough. Letting us know when you make changes in your market hours, when you're open, just anything that the consumer needs to know. We need a good phone number. We need a good email, your social media links if you have them. You have to operate at a designated location at a fixed time. You have to have 5 or more farmer producers selling their own agricultural products. And then you've got to make sure that you're meeting all the TDA regulatory requirements. And you have to have a formal, organized structure or be connected with a local entity to participate in this program.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rachel, for giving me this time to talk about the Produce Safety Program. I am Kathy Rubin, and I am the Produce Coordinator for the state of Tennessee. Just a little bit background of myself. I graduated with a master's in fermentation science last year from MTSU. And I started here in TDA as an intern and formally came on board around 8 months ago. So before I proceed, I wanted to take this time to say thank you to all the managers for all the hard work in organizing and running these markets. I love going to farmers markets that I make it a point to go to one, especially when I'm traveling, whether locally or out of the country. So again, once again, thank you for all the hard work that you guys put into this. So to proceed with my short introduction, the Produce Safety Program went into effect in 2016 to focus on preventive measures in keeping produce, particularly fruits and vegetables, safe. So we are doing this through inspections and education. Next slide, please, Rachel. Currently, there are no licensing or permits required to grow this type of produce in the state of Tennessee. So if your vendors ask you, is there any licenses or permits that they need to apply for to grow these produce, we don't permit them or they don't need any. But we do perform produce safety inspections if the farm is covered by the produce safety rule. So I know that inspections do not give people a warm, fuzzy feeling when they hear about it, but it is one of the safeguards in protecting the public. So to be honest, majority of the farms or your vendors that are selling in the farmers market won't be subjected to these inspections. We looked at 3 factors into determining if a farm is to be inspected. One of these factors is the type of produce. So this will be the fruits and vegetables that are generally eaten raw, such as berries, tomatoes, leafy greens, and mushrooms. So if your vendor or your farm just grows pumpkins and potatoes, these are not really something that we touch on. Another factor that we look into is the size of the farm. So most farms that sell produce below $25,000 a year are what we call micro-exempt. So therefore, they're not subjected to inspections, produce safety inspections, that is. So a third factor that we look into are the different types of activities they perform at the farm. So we only look at the safe growing, harvesting, packing, and holding of the produce activities. Anything that falls after that is under the jurisdiction of another section. There are other things, these rules are never as easy as we think they are, especially in the regulatory side. So there are other factors to consider, and I will be happy to talk about it in more details in another session or individually to you guys. The more relevant part of our program for your farms or vendor is the education opportunities under this. We offer free educational farm visits, which we call on-farm readiness reviews. This is where we visit farms upon request, of course, to evaluate and give suggestions on how they can improve their produce safety practices. We would normally come with someone from UT so that they can get input from both an educator and an regulatory. We We also invite the UT Extension Office representative to join us. And from what I've heard from Casey earlier, she's encouraging you guys to visit some farms so the farmers market managers can join us as well. So we'd like to remind it's free. So we hold Produce Safety Alliance grower trainings around throughout the year, where they will learn about produce safety practices and produce safety rule requirements. I would highly recommend this training for all farmers, regardless of size or status. Our virtual classes right now are two half days and cost around $25. We will be having an in-person one during the PIC Tennessee conference in February. The cost and the actual the details, Debbie Ball would be able to give you more information on this as it's her baby. We're also holding different workshops throughout the year that deals with various produce safety topics, such as pre and post harvest water, and we will resume these workshops in the spring. Lastly is you can also get in touch with us or your farmers if you have specific questions about requirements under the produce safety rule. We've been receiving a lot of inquiries about microgreens and mushrooms and what is required to grow them, and other inquiries with regards to these two particular produce. So that's basically it for me. And I'd like to say thank you again for giving me this opportunity to reintroduce the Produce Safety Program, and would love to have a chance to connect with you guys.
Thank you, Kathy. And this is her contact information, and she will also put that in the chat, and it will be in the follow-up email as well. So if you have any questions about the Produce Safety Program, please reach out to Kathy. And now I will turn it over to our Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee.
Sure. Hi there. This is Jennifer. I am the Farm to Family Coordinator here at Second Harvest Food Bank. And we first want to start off with saying thank you. Both Brad and I are on the call. We recognize that as marketing managers, you know your vendors the most. And this is a very exciting program for the state of Tennessee. So we appreciate being here and helping us spread the word. So we're very excited. So as Rachel mentioned, we're here to talk to you about the LFPA grant, which is the Local Food Purchase Assistance Grant that we've received from the Department of Agriculture, who we're working closely with. And Rachel, you can go to the next slide if you want. So basically, I'm going to let Brad jump in here to just give an overview, because as you can see, there's 5 food banks that have received this grant. And Brad can speak specifically to how our structure works, and then I'll finish up with exactly how the grant's going to be distributed.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Bornak. I am the Food Resource Manager at Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee. We operate in 46 counties in Middle and West Tennessee. We are one of, as you can see, 5 Feeding America affiliated food banks in the state of Tennessee. Feeding America is the largest hunger relief organization in the United States, and they are an umbrella organization for about 200 food banks nationwide. So we service 46 counties from the Alabama to the Kentucky border and through Central and West Tennessee. So we operate in conjunction with the 4 other food banks in the state of Tennessee. We're basically a distribution center and a warehouse that sources surplus food and then distributes through a network of partner agencies. Those agencies are church pantries, food pantries, school feeding programs, senior feeding programs, and they're the ones who are ultimately feeding clients. So we work to handle the logistics of sourcing, procuring, and then moving that food to the folks who need it. So as Jennifer said, in conjunction with those 4 other food banks, we are working to help administer a statewide grant, the Local Food Purchase Assistance Grant. is a USDA grant that is administered at the state level through the 5 food banks that you can see here. There's our service area as well as the other 4 food banks in the service areas that they carry. So through this network of food banks, every zip code in the country is represented and serviced by a food bank. So as you can see, it's a pretty extensive network. So the state grant is $8.2 million. That will be allocated to the 5 food banks depending on size and reach. And again, we will work with the other 4 food banks to find available vendors who have product that meet the criteria for the grant. We will procure that product and then distribute through our network of partner agencies. And Jennifer can talk more specifically about the grant. I just want to say thank you for having us and letting us share. I know you're all very busy and there's a lot of information here. So thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. Thank you, Brad. So the goal of the grant is to partner with farmers and producers that are socially disadvantaged. So minority farmers. And then, of course, given that the Department of Agriculture has identified all farmers and producers as disadvantaged, we'll certainly take everyone into consideration. What's exciting about this opportunity is that we're actually in the position, instead of requesting donations, being able to pay for product. So we're very excited about that opportunity. So while we're working to secure vendors and products for the area food banks, we're also going to be working with our partner agencies. So essentially, what we're going to be doing is building capacity so that when the grant dollars, are utilized, that we've created an evergreen program so that we can continue working together. I think we can go to the next slide, Rachel. So again, looking at those agencies, the goal is sustainability with the program. So the LFPA funding can actually be used to increase food storage with our agencies, food transportation, so that we have the ability to distribute fuel costs, technology, staffing. So that's about 40% that we're allowed to utilize the grant dollars for. So right now, what we're looking to do, we did actually receive these grant dollars a little bit behind, and that's why we're just very fortunate to be on this call today, because we need to spread the word. So that's where, of course, marketing managers are on the top of the list, because not everyone we know has the access to technology. Our farmers are busy. Having been part of the farmers market community myself, everyone's got a lot of plates in the air. So we appreciate any word of mouth, or I do have a flyer that I can help distribute, and Rachel has that. So if you want to put it in a vendor newsletter, you're more than welcome to. Right now, of course, we're looking for things like dairy, eggs, and meat. Protein is of a big need at our agencies. We're looking for opportunities to build farmers' capacity, buying CSA shares. Again, we want to look at coordinating crop planning, specifically for item variety and quantity. So as we mentioned, each food bank does have a contact based on county. And so you can see here, we do have contacts by the food bank. You can reach out to them directly based on your county. And of course, we can provide that map to make it easier, or I have no problem with folks reaching out to me, and then I can pass them along to the correct contact. So that sums up the grant. If anyone has questions, please let us know.
Perfect. Thank you, Jennifer and Brad. And again, if you have questions, please put those in the Q&A for them, and you will also receive this contact information so that you can reach out to your food bank directly. Next, I'm going to share really quickly about the Market Gleaning Program from the Society of St. Andrew. If you are not familiar with this program, the contact information so that you can get in touch with them will be at the end of these slides, and please reach out. So this is simply just a gleaning program so that if there is leftover produce or produce that is not as pretty and not purchased at the market, it will be collected and shared with a local feeding agency. So Again, this is a gleaning program that comes through at the end of your market and takes that food somewhere where it would be utilized. Again, farmers get information back about that. So a tax receipt, they get the information from this society so that you as a market manager are not having to kind of go through that, deal with that. This is something that they connect with individually with those farmers. And again, the food is taken to local people that can utilize that and help feed the hungry. There are liability protection laws that help protect your vendors. So again, you are not kind of the middleman. You can just help connect with the Society of St. Andrews so that they can come to your market. And again, they will speak directly to the vendors and work with them one-on-one. Here's the contact information, Jeannie Hunter. So again, please reach out to her if you have any questions. And here is her email and phone number. So that is for the entire state of Tennessee. So no matter where you are, you can reach out to Jeannie. Today we have Miss Debbie Ball with TDA here with us. We also have Kathy Rubin from TDA, and I believe Mike Brown has been joining us as well with TDA. So all three of them are here on behalf of TDA to answer any questions you might have. From the Center for Profitable Agriculture and UT Extension, we have myself, Rachel Painter, a marketing specialist. We also have Megan LeFew here with us as well. She is also a CPA and a marketing specialist as well. Mr. Hal Pepper, which has recently retired, but he just can't get enough. He is still here, and we are thankful for that. So again, Hal is with us as well from CPA, recently retired, but we are hanging on to him as long as we possibly can. We also have Ms. Kyla Adkins from the UT Food Science Department to help answer any questions, especially about the Food Freedom Act, if you have any questions about that. And then we still, of course, have with us our TAFM friends, Casey Hare and Dottie Beasley is here as well from the Tennessee Association of Farmers Markets. So they are a great resource. Again, if you have any questions about dealing with vendor relations, anything about SNAP, anything about how to handle conflict between vendors. So again, they are here to answer some of those questions for us. And again, Mike Brown is here. His name is not showing up. It is just some random letters, but that is okay. So that is Mike Brown with us as well on the panel. So I will kick us off with one of our first questions, and that is, how do you go about finding high quality vendors? So we have a lot of new market managers that are on the call with us today, and they are starting a new market or taking over a market that has been in existence already, and they have some questions about how to find high quality vendors if they want to expand their market. So I will ask our TAFM friends to jump in there. So Casey or Dottie, you want to take the reins on this one?
Hey everyone, can you hear me? This is Dottie. Sorry, I hopped on late. I had some technical difficulties, but so finding vendors is actually a really fun thing to do. I like to start by going to other markets in the area. There's a lot of bigger markets than ours, a lot of markets that run year round. So I feel like that's a really good place to start, just going to other markets and seeing who's there and meeting people. And then another resource is Pick Tennessee. The Pick Tennessee website, there's a lot of farms and vendors who are listed on there. And obviously the conference is a great way to meet people. Something that we started doing, I managed the 12 South Farmers Market in Nashville. Something we started doing a couple of years ago was actually renting a booth at the Pick Tennessee Trade Show. So it's just a good place for us to have a presence. We meet a lot of people. Have met a lot of vendors over the years that ended up joining our market because we met them there at Pick Tennessee. So just staying involved and engaged with the Pick Tennessee and the TAFM community has been a great way. And then also, social media has been key for us. I feel like I find new vendors and makers, and, there's so many, especially in Davidson County, and our surrounding area. We're really lucky to have a wealth of people who are running small businesses. So I spend a lot of time scouring social media for, who's out there, who's doing what. So those are kind of my go-to two things, but I've definitely, like I said, met a lot of vendors at other events. Even if it's not a farmer's market, there's so many events around town now that you can really meet a lot of people just getting out there and seeing who's out there. But yeah, those are my go-tos.
Casey, do you have anything to add?
I ditto everything Dottie said. I think social media is probably the number one place that we find new vendors. And then we do a lot of emailing and looking through the Pick Tennessee Products website.
And I will say too, sorry, I'll just add one more thing. I know we talked about having a market information booth at your market. We get a lot of vendors from just having that presence, week to week. I think even though my market has been open we're about to start our 12th year, every single week we're starting to set up our tent and someone walks by and says, "What is this? Where, when are you here?" I didn't know it was here, and a lot of those people are people who own their own businesses or, so we get a lot just from that, just having that presence at our market from week to week and just in the community at other events. People find you too. So.
Thank you. And before we get to Joanna's question in the Q&A, I'll ask a couple more questions here. So they have some questions about how do you have a local food truck participate and how do you decide, what that food truck can be and any regulations that surround having a food truck at the market. So I think I'll give this one back to Casey and Dottie, unless anyone from TDA or CPA wants to jump in.
I'll jump in on that one. I have the fortunate benefit. I also work for a food truck. I work for the Grilled Cheesery food truck here in Nashville as their events coordinator. So that's been really cool for me to be able to see from both sides, from the vendor side, but also from the market manager side, how things work. We at 12 South have always had food trucks. We love supporting food trucks at our market, and it's something that the neighborhood really loves. I know that in Davidson County, and I'm sure other counties have similar policies probably, but in Davidson County, especially because we're located in a metro park, the food trucks have to be on an approved list that Metro Parks manages or Davidson County manages, which is really easy for them to get on that list. I don't believe it costs anything, but mainly what trucks need to have is the proper permitting for whatever town or city or county they're in. So there's actually been a lot of new legislation around food truck sales and permitting, especially in the downtown area in Davidson County. So that's the first thing, is just making sure that the food truck that you're working with has their proper permitting, and they of course have to have all their health permits and everything like that. But that kind of goes back to some of the stuff Casey was talking about in the presentation of you need to determine how much you're going to require of them as far as documentation and and that kind of thing. But again, there's so many food trucks now, especially in Nashville and Davidson County, that, going out to events, meeting people, scouring social media, all that stuff is super helpful. And I'm not sure, Debbie, if food vendors are listed on Pick Tennessee, or is it like food truck vendors or hot food vendors?
We have a restaurant listing of folks who buy local produce. So it's not a comprehensive list of food trucks. If it's a food truck that purchases local product for what they're producing, then they would be eligible. But yeah, we might not be the best resource for that.
Okay. But now that you said that, that reminds me, there are two kind of directories. One is called Best Food Trucks. And that's a website, and they actually host, you can do pre-ordering and all that kind of stuff, but it's a national site, but they have individual city listings. So you can go on and find the listing for Nashville, or, wherever you are. And it'll see all the trucks that are signed up with that organization. And most trucks will sign up with that listing. And then the other one is Street Food Finder. That's also an app that does pre-ordering and that kind of thing, but they'll also have a directory on there. And you, as an event manager, can list your event on their booking calendar. So as a food truck, I can go on to Street Food Finder and say, I need to find a shift for Tuesday. So I can go onto the calendar and say, oh, here's all the events that are happening on Tuesday that need a food truck. And so it links up the people who manage events and the people who are running the food trucks to get connected. So those are two good sources, Street Food Finder and Best Food Trucks. I would definitely check those out.
Thank you. And on that same line item, we have some questions about providing samples at market. So food samples for what the vendor is selling. So I might throw that one to either Debbie or Megan. Either one of you want to jump in there?
Mike may be a good person to talk to about this too. I'm going to pass because I'm not going to be the best source.
I'll jump in here. Is my microphone working? My
Yes,
camera's
it is.
not. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes.
Well, forgive me. I have a new computer, and it's and on top of that, I'm technologically challenged. So between those two things, I don't have a camera. So bottom line is sampling is always up to the discretion of the county health department. And this is all the county health departments are subject to state regulations from the Tennessee Department of Health. The challenge sometimes can be that counties have different interpretations of that at the county level. So I encourage you just to develop that relationship with your county health inspectors. The biggest thing with sampling typically is, of course, individual containers for sampling, as limited human contact as possible. Of course, plastic or latex gloves and things like that. Normally, hairnets and face coverings are not typically required. But again, check with your health department, and they're the boss here. So whatever your county health department says you do, then you have to do that. So, and again, that does vary from county to county.
Thank you, Mike. Great answer. Again, check with your local county health department. Okay, so let's jump to the question that's in the Q&A box before we go back to some that were submitted for registration. So we have a question about the labeling requirements for the Food Freedom Act. Vendors are looking also for easy and affordable ways to print labels. So I might throw that one to our friends with CPA, Megan LaFew. She handles any kind of food requirement things like that. And then again, if Hal wants to add anything, then I will certainly let him do so.
For the regulatory part, open. I may have frozen there. I'm sorry. For the regulatory part of what's required on the label, we'll let Kyla or and Mike maybe handle that. As far as where to find or how to make labels, there's several things that I'll throw out to consider, and Kyla and Mike and others may have some things to add. But some things may depend on, where, if that is likely to get wet somehow, or, some people will kind of print it on their own printer and getting the right label and the right ink in order to do that. If you're doing a small number, that may work out. You can order online stickers that are you would just design your sticker and upload that, and you would buy a roll of 1,000 or something, or a local printing company could help you with that. But you will likely want something that maybe is a little glossy, and that if it would get wet somehow at the market, that could happen. If you get in a little bit of rain or get it next to something that's damp, that it won't peel off or look bad. So those are some of the considerations. How many do you need? Is it likely to change at all? If not, then you could buy a roll of 1,000 or several rolls of 1,000. If you need just a few, then I would kind of look at your office supply store and see if you can find some nice labels that you can print, at home. Kyla or Mike, you or others have any other input there?
I have a little bit. My camera's going nuts here. I don't know. Wow. All right. There we go. Let me turn that off. That's a little bit. That's a little bit confusing. Let me turn that off. Okay. There we go. That's better. That was your psychedelic disco dance floor show. So yes, the one thing I think to be and specifically talking about Food Freedom Act producers, I'm assuming that's the main thing that we're discussing here. There are some differences in the Food Freedom Act labeling as compared to general food labeling. The biggest one, there's actually two of those. The biggest one is that you actually have to put a statement on the label, and you can have, I will make sure Rachel gets a copy of the actual law, but it has to be a verbatim exact statement, and I'll just read it here. This product was produced in a private residence that is exempt from state licensing and inspection. This product may contain allergens. That statement has to be on the label exactly as it is written. So that's the biggest thing. The second thing that's a little bit funny, but I understand why it was included in the law, is you have to put your name, home address, and your telephone number. Telephone numbers are never required for just general food manufacturing under food manufacturing permits, because typically we have a telephone number that's attached to that permit information, and we can use that for trace back. But since there's no permit connected to this, there has to be extra trace back indicators there just in case there's a problem with the food. So those are the two biggest differences.
Kyla, do you have anything to add? Or you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Kyla. I'm with UT Food Science Extension. I would just say that we've had some producers bring up the question if they are in unsafe situations that they do not feel comfortable sharing name, address, and phone number. If there are any other alternatives, such as a PO box or whatnot, it has to be the producer's name, address, and phone number. There are no other options given by the law.
Thank you. So if you do have any other questions or want more information about the Food Freedom Act, I did include in the information about registering about the webinar that was hosted and recorded, and that is available on our CPA YouTube channel about the Food Freedom Act. And that was hosted by Megan and Kyla and some other folks as well. So again, please go and watch that and encourage your vendors to watch that as well. And then there is also a new publication that is out that was included in that registration information as well. So again, there are resources out there. I'm sure you probably have questions as well, but definitely go check out the recording and that publication. And please, again, make sure all of your vendors have access to that information. So the next question that we can cover here is about, again, the Double SNAP and other programs and how they would find information about those programs. So anyone want to jump in about how they can find information about SNAP or WIC or anything like that?
I'll talk a little bit about it. So I put the link to Market Link. That's for farmers market operators to, it has assistance to go through your application. They also have some grants sometimes to help pay for the cost of the POS system. More specifically, again, about those Double SNAP programs, if you can find a private business to help you fund those extra dollars, that's ideal. There are some grants out there that can help fund those double dollars. But essentially it's up to each market to kind of build those programs out on their own for now. Like I mentioned during our presentation, there is a Double SNAP coalition that is meeting quarterly right now, trying to build the framework for a state-funded Double SNAP program that we hope to be able to help get out to all markets that take SNAP. But that's in the works. It's not something that is available right now. WIC is a completely different application process than the SNAP process. And so you'll need to talk to your Department of Human Services to go through that application process. And that is actually, the market itself cannot become WIC certified. Each individual vendor will need to become WIC certified and go through that process to take and redeem those vouchers. There's 3 months during the summertime, I believe it's June, July, and August, that they send out farmers market produce vouchers. I believe it's either $5 or $10 a month that they can redeem at the market with produce vendors. And then all the other programs, we do a kids pop club. We give pop dollars to children to buy produce from the market to help them build some interest in eating and picking out and eating some of those things that they don't typically like to do. But all of that is built out through each individual market.
Well, also at the Pick Tennessee conference, Casey's, am I right in saying we're going to have a session with somebody and doing like rapid enrollment on SNAP? That's right?
We have been we've been working with Market Link.
Okay.
Bring some people from USDA to do some rapid enrollment. I am not sure that they have found someone that is able to come yet, but when we do, we will definitely post it and share that information on TAFM social media.
Thank you. So again, if you have questions about SNAP and things like that, your Association of Farmers Markets is a great resource. So please reach out to them. And again, I would encourage you to go see all of the information that is on their website as well. So we are out of questions. If you have any last burning questions, please put those in the Q&A now so that we can answer those. And Megan has just put information about the Pick Tennessee conference and how you can go register and see more about that in the chat. Would anyone like to share more about the Pick Tennessee conference? If you're not familiar with that, it is in February the 16th through the 18th in Franklin at the Cool Springs Marriott. And I will let anyone that wants to share more information about the Pick Tennessee Conference and why that's important to attend.
Yeah, Megan, go for it.
I'll start. Then Debbie, you help me as I go along. If you haven't been to the Pick Tennessee Conference, I highly encourage you to check it out. Casey and her team for the Farmers Market Group create a really good program geared toward farmers market vendors and managers. But that's not all that's there. There are 8 associations, I think, involved on the board in planning. That 8 producer associations, and then the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and UT Extension are involved as well. So there are sessions for fruit and vegetable growers, for organic growers in particular, for agritourism, Christmas trees, beekeeping, plants and flower growers. We're going to have a great cut flower short course on Saturday. And in addition, then the conference program planning committee tries to identify topics that would be relevant to a wide majority of folks. And this year we have Phil and Stephanie Quinn from Quinn Farms in Canada coming to speak about their operation. And they do a lot with building team and community and really trying to implement some things to manage their stress and sanity with that. We have Heather Sedges from UT Extension that's going to be talking about farmer stress and stress management. We have some programs on TikTok and Canva for your social media needs that I'm really excited about and know that I will learn some. And another speaker about some social media things that I can't remember off the top of my head. And then we will have Kevin Hensley from the Farm Bureau will come and give us kind of a legislative and judicial update about issues going on in agriculture, what we might see in the legislature session coming that will be starting then, and some other things, as well as some great receptions, a networking trade show. And Debbie, do you want to talk a little bit about the Pick-TN Marketplace and anything else you can think of that I missed?
Megan covered it all. I think that the networking, the educational aspects of this are great, but just the networking of being able to connect with other folks doing what you're doing is just as important. On Saturday morning, this will be the second year we've had it. We call it the Pick-TN, Pick Tennessee Marketplace, where Pick Tennessee Products members will bring their product in and actually sell product on site. So you can go shopping at the end of the conference and take home treats for all your family members. But more importantly, this gives those folks an opportunity to meet with farmers who have on-farm stores, with our wineries who have gift shops. So they're able to sell their product that day, but they're hopefully also able to make deals to sell their product in the future further into 2023. Registration is up. I encourage you guys to go ahead and get registered. And don't forget, the Farmers Market Promotion Grant does cover participation in the Pick Tennessee Conference. So if you received one of those auto-populated forms from Rachel earlier this week, go ahead and get those submitted. And if you did not, please email her and she'll get you the appropriate paperwork so you can take advantage of this opportunity.
And you may have mentioned this, Debbie, but so forgive me if you did, but this is an excellent opportunity to recruit vendors as well. So if anybody's, to go in there.
Dottie said that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I've been bouncing in and out, so.
No, he's right. It's a great time to meet farmers from all sections of the state. You're going to find somebody that's close to you.
I think we're also going to have a session from some folks in TDA's Consumer Industry Services, more in depth on the Food Freedom Act, and then other food regulations above and beyond that. And then Hal and I are we get to teach again, Hal, about some risk management with value-added products and then some of the other requirements like sales tax and business license and things. So there will be so many things you won't be able to easily choose what to go to.
Thank you all. We have had something submitted in the Q&A box. So there's a question from Laura Jones about, do you see a problem with young entrepreneurs under the age of 18 selling produce or value-added products at a market as long as they are following the regulations, all regulations? So I don't know if that's a Mike Brown or anyone else question, but a vendor that is under the age of 18.
We don't have any age requirements with the state as far as we're concerned. So defer, I guess that may be an individual market decision.
I would say, as long as they're following all the regulations, if they need a business license or sales tax, or if they, if they can purchase liability insurance and all the things that they need, then I can't think of anything either.
Perfect. Thank you. So yes, again, I guess that would just be a local market, decision. Make sure that that is in your rules and regulations as well. So again, like Casey has mentioned many times, make sure that whatever your rule is going to be, put that into your, your guide, and make sure that that is posted so that all of you are consistent with what is acceptable at your market. Okay, so we are out of questions. Does any panelist have anything else that they would like to add that would be helpful for our market managers?
Since I've joined on late, I'm not sure, Casey might have said this already, but now is going to be a good time to either renew your TAFA membership or get your new membership, because there will be a rate increase in the upcoming year. So if you want to get the grandfathered rate, I think, did we say the 16th, Casey? January 16th is when they're going up. So in the next couple weeks, if you can either renew your membership or get your membership active, now's the time to do it. So.
Great. Thank you, Dottie. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Again, this was the Farmers Market Manager Training for 2022. So we look forward to seeing you all next year. If you have any questions throughout the year, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or any of our other panelists that are on this call.